A fast draw is a pretty extensive process.
Typically, a client will call us and ask to do a quick draw. I'll ask what their vision is and what they want to accomplish with the quick draw, and from there we go into the screenwriting process.
Once the script is locked, then I get to move straight to the storyboarding phase, which is very crucial because each of those needs to be completely approved and locked before we begin drawing.
Once the storyboards are drafted and the client signs off on them, we're ready to move into the pre-draw phase.
So this helps me get cleaner drawings, more accurate placement of the characters, and if I don't like it the first time I draw it, I can just erase it and draw it again. And just so that I'm not drawing the image for the very first time when we're recording, I go over it lightly in pencil, so that when we are actually recording, all I'm doing is tracing. And because of the lighting, the light pencil marks that I'm making when I'm pre-drawing don't actually show up in the final. And this is the part that usually takes a while because this is the final that's going to be traced over and seen. Lighting a quick draw can be tricky. You have to light the whole surface of the page as evenly as you can.
We had focused a lot of our lighting on the centerpiece of where the drawing was going to occur and didn't pay as much mind to the edges. The problem with that was when in post you would try to adjust the contrast and bring up the whites for those edges, it would blow out the middle almost too much where you would lose line definition.
And you get a lot of red, basically from the tungsten light. And so when you try and desaturate them or brighten them, it picks up all the reds and warm tones in the hand and in the arm that's in the frame. And so then the arm starts to get all desaturated and looking weird. So lighting is absolutely crucial in this.
I front lit with 2 Kino flows overhead and made sure that they were far enough away that it evenly lit the edges of the paper. Then I brought in supplemental softboxes to fill in the gaps. From behind, I used 2 Airy 300s to light through the table. What's great about the drawing paper is that it acts as a natural diffuser, but it alleviates any shadows created by the front lights. When it came to filming the quick draw, we use a Canon 7D with a 17 to 40mm L-series lens. We raise the camera up and raise it over the illustrator, kind of like an OTS, frame in for the image he's drawing, and record with a high shutter speed at 1080 resolution and at 30 frames per second. The most important thing is the lighting and making sure you have a good, high shutter speed that will keep everything crisp and clean and you don't get that motion blur when the hand's moving around.
So once the lighting is all set, the camera's ready to go, I kind of sit down in that chair, and because of the lighting setup, I'm locked in a little bit, so I'm in there for a while. I always have to have my storyboards right beside me. A lot of the images I have depend on the elements drawing on in a certain order to convey what's going on in the script. So I make a little diagram for myself at the bottom of the page, and then I either draw or write down the elements in the order that they need to appear. Initially, my lines were a little too thin, and they weren't reading on camera very well, but really with a fast draw, all the lines need to be pretty thick in order to read on camera. And the best thing to do is to try and make your drawings as big as possible. Sort of the rule of thumb I've found that's working better is that a character on the page, if their head is about the size of your fist, that's a really, really great size. It allows you to get a lot of detail in. You can do very thick lines and still get a lot of the small facial expressions with those thick lines without it looking like just this sort of like mess if you're drawing it smaller with those thick lines. Once it's all shot, we port it straight into After Effects. I do all my editing there. I remove all the spots where my hand went out of the frame and rested for a minute and then came back in. Take that entire clip and just use the time remapping feature, which essentially turns the time of the clip into keyframes. And I can move those keyframes closer together, and all of a sudden the time is shortened, or I can move them apart. I can add in little keyframes, and I can control and manipulate the speed at which each element draws on, so that I can line that up with the voiceover. As we've gotten more complex with them, we've started adding shading and color to the pieces. And one thing you really have to be careful about is doing flesh tone colors, because if you start to tweak those in your post program, then it's going to affect the actual hand that's in the frame. So what we typically do is if we have a color that's orange or red, we'll actually use a green pen. And then once we put it into After Effects, we'll just switch that color out for orange. And that way it doesn't affect the hand when we start color correcting at all.
It's been neat to look back over the past year at the evolution of our quick draw skills to see when we were just learning how to, figure it out to where we are now. And now we're looking to do creative spins on the quick draw and take it to a whole new level, everything from involving vector art interacting with the quick draws, to animating the actual quick draws that we have drawn on there, to incorporating live action video with the quick draws, and just different combinations and different pairings, and just putting a new original spin on something that's pretty classic.
What is Sparksight anyway? A commercial agency for video and animation? Well, yes, but we're also event management and a design firm, photography studio, and groundbreaking software developer. Sparksight is an agency focused on your success in events, video, and design. But mostly, Sparksight is for you. To learn more, drop us a line or give us a call.